I'm calling this meeting of the Town of Silver City Council to order. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. Especially like to welcome Police Chief Portillo. I'd like to welcome the media, and we'll hear from others later on, but I'd like to recognize the Boy Scout Troop 110. They're here tonight because they're working on two merit badges. One is citizenship in the community, and the other is communications. So, welcome. The next item on the agenda is changes to the agenda. Do any of the councilors want to make any changes? No changes. Next item is council comments. First is Councilor Bedeston.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I'd like to make a public thank you to our police officers. I was just told the chief that I was sitting at a red light at 14th and Pope, going kind of that sort of weird kind of going east right there. It's not really east at that point. And I was sitting there, I saw one of our officers across the way. The light was still red, and a vehicle decided to race through very, very quickly the red light. And the next thing I hear sirens behind me, and one of our officers has stopped at the red light to make sure that he wouldn't get hit, and then pursued, and then I could see him ticketing the person. So I just want to thank you, Chief, and please thank the officers for making sure that Silver Cityans and our visitors and everybody are safe, and making sure that they do, when they see it, cite and do whatever they need to do if someone runs through a red light or a stop sign. As we've said before, those are not suggestions. They really do protect you, your passenger, and the people that are in the area. So, thank you again. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Boy Scouts because they came by my door this weekend, and I had no canned foods because I had already taken all the canned foods out of my house. I had no canned foods to give them for their canned food drive. But I appreciate them coming by, and they were really kind. So great folks, and I think at least one of the parents, maybe both of them, are in the room. But I said, sorry, I just don't have any canned food in the house. So I just want folks to know that they may be coming by on their canned food drive. And that's one of those community events that they do in order to make sure that there's food available for folks that are in need. And then I have yet to hear from anyone about what they'd like to do for Charter Day, if anybody would like to do my idea. So I'll be meeting with, I'll talk with James Marshall and talk with some other folks to see what sorts of ideas they have for District 1. I really like the one that Councilor Cano has, and I wish I could steal it because it's a really great one. And I don't want to do something similar, but still, I really like what you're doing, and I like what Councilor Ray's doing as well. So great ideas that are out there. So we'll try to get this settled and pick a day when folks can get together and do something for District 1. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Cano.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would just like to thank the Grant County Prospectors for putting on yet another fantastic Grant County Day at the Legislature. For anyone who hasn't been to Grant County Day, it's pretty amazing to see how well that organization works. Councilor Bedeston is a member of the Prospectors. She's also a member of CLAC, which I'm not going to get it right, so it's the legislative wing of the Prospectors. So I'm not going to get the acronym correct, and they go up a few days early and make sure that everything is in order before we even arrive. This year, I can tell you there were several organizations that were very, very successful in their lobbying, and it was because of the organization that the prospectors have done before we even get there. So thank you for all the hard work that you put into that. I've been getting a lot of questions about the minimum wage bill that is being introduced in the legislature and how it will affect the city directly. So Mr. Brown, could you maybe give us a couple of words?
Yeah, Council Gunn, for the organization, the town of Twin City itself,
Yes.
it will not affect us because all of the employees that we hire are, the base wage is $9.50. So if anything else, it'll be a slight increase on the base wage, but everything else is no problem, so.
The other thing is that I attended the opening of the new ranching exhibit at the museum, the Silver City Museum, and it was really nice to see some local history in the museum and to have, an event where there were a lot of public involved. The Silver City or Grant County Cowbells, Silver City Cowbells, well, the Cowbells were involved with this reception, and it was really nice to see all of them there. The one thing though, I had an interesting experience at the opening. I was in my wheelchair because I usually take it to big events, and one of the employees decided that she needed to use me as a hurdle, trying to get from one end of the gift shop to the other end to use the cash register. And by hurdle, I mean she literally jumped over me in my wheelchair. And I had my own reaction that I normally would have at one of these events, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe it's been a while since we've done some diversity training for the town staff. So I'd like to consider doing a little bit of training, just because I think there's some employees who might be new and haven't gone through that possibly, and they need some work, because had that happened to a member of the public, it would have been really embarrassing to, So if we could maybe think about doing that, that would be really great. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to thank you for doing what you do. And I would like to see more people from Grant County go up there to one of those things. It's amazing what these people can do. And the more people that we have up there, or the more people that show up from Grant County, gives Grant County a better name. More to do. Mr. Seibel knows that. And he's up there constantly passing out his newspapers, and him and his staff, which is very good, because a lot of people pick it up, and I've seen a lot of people read it. Also, I want to thank Mr. Brown for allowing his maintenance crew to put the flagpole and the lights on the capilla, and also for purchasing the state flag and the American flag. And I will have the POW flag by the end of the week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Amos Smith.
Thank you. Well, I guess it falls to me to praise the town in Nimrock for the chocolate Fantasia and the buses coming from Tucson to enjoy that. Yeah, so big deal. All the chocolate I collected went to a potluck, not into my mouth. Second thing is that, of course, territorial charter days are coming up this weekend, and that promises to be a hoop-de-doo event to celebrate our historical charter. And so I want to really encourage people to go downtown and take part in those events. I am happy to announce that the Territorial Charter Day Volunteer Project for District 2 will take place on July 13th. And we coordinated with the Clay Festival to be kind of a front-end activity as a lead-off to the Clay Festival. And we will be installing some interesting features at the old Stonehouse Waterworks on the outside that will be accessible and available to the public. Stay tuned for more news. I think it will be really a lovely volunteer activity, and will reap results that people will be able to enjoy for a long time. And I want to give a shout out to a group that I have some connection with, and because I have friends who volunteer with it, and that's the Disabled American Vets Transportation. And they just got a new van that they really worked hard for a year on. I know that you know about those guys. They provide transportation for disabled vets
to various medical appointments all over Las Cruces, Albuquerque, El Paso, and they do a remarkable service for those folks. I just want to say congrats. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. My apologies, I did not recognize the fact that Councilor Ray was up there, and thank you for doing the color guard. I can't remember if you were in the House or in the Senate. Were you in both? You were in the Senate side. So thank you so much.
Yes, it was in the House.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your service. I think that Gaffney, okay, I always say it wrong, Gaffney Oglesby, were in the House. And I just, we so appreciate it when we have our Grant County veterans up there. And I just wanted to thank you for your leadership in doing that and making sure that we did have the groups up there, and it was great to be able to see them at the reception as well. I think it's like one of the first times that everybody came to the reception. So we thank folks for doing that. And then I want to recognize the fact that the mayor, also, you presented in the House, I believe, the benediction? Yes, so thank you very much for that. And I like how you put in about the territorial charter days, and it was seamless, and it was really nice, and really want to appreciate that. And then just coming off of one of the things that Councilwoman Smith, when she announced the District 2 July 13th date, there will also be a big event at the University Museum. It'll be the 45th anniversary Black and White Gala that evening. So, and that's the big kickoff to Clay Festival as well. So it's going to be a fun day of all sorts of things. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to be over at yours while we're getting the museum ready, but there'll be more about that as well. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? I just want to thank all of the people who volunteer in our community. I'm looking at the city council and their volunteer projects. One of the projects we had this past year was Councilor Amon Smith's project, and Chief Patillo was there, and his whole family was there. And all of you that I know are involved in volunteer projects around the community, and that's what makes our community work. The Boy Scouts, big help in the community, and last but not least are their leaders who spend a lot of their own personal time to work with these young men. Well, one thing I almost forgot was the Territorial Charter Ball was mentioned. The band that's going to be playing is the Illusion Band, one of the best bands in our part of the country. They not only play in Silver City, but all over. They recently lost their lead guitarist, and so this will be the first venue that they've played in since that tragedy. So that's going to be quite an event. So that's going to be 7 o'clock this coming Saturday. You can get tickets at the Visitor Center. Where else? Help me out.
Vintage Fantasies.
Vintage Fantasies, located downtown.
Silver City Museum.
And the Silver City Museum. Right. And you'll fill us more in on that, right? Okay, I'll leave that. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. First will be the approval of the minutes of the January 22, 2019 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion? Councilor Amon Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the regular town council meeting of the town of Silver City of January 22nd, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. I second the motion as stated.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item is the approval of minutes of the January 28, 2019 special council meeting. Do I hear a motion? Councilor
I'll take it.
Amon Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the special council meeting of the town of Silver City of January 28th, 2019.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Ray. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item is public input, and we see that no one signed up. Is that right, Ann? So that, going right on to the next item is reports. Mr. Brown?
The only report we have is from Bart from the museum. I'm sorry, I don't even remember Bart's last name on the Territorial Charters Day. You want to give your report?
Just come on up and press that little button and identify yourself, please.
Press this button? Mic on? Hi. Thank you. Thanks, Councilor Cano, for the shout out to the ranching exhibit in Grant County. Staff was very, very proud of that effort. It really, you don't know how many people I heard that night say, this is the first time I've been to the museum. And I think when the museum presents the history of the people who live here in Silver City and Grant County, they will come to the museum. We had almost 200 people at that opening. We were very proud of it. We'll have to talk to people about running into you and running over people and being a little more sensitive. Jumping over. Oh, terrible. But that night was a wonderful night for all of us. We really appreciate your support and the town's support. I have a few handouts that I'm going to move around. More there. But I'm told I had to cut my presentation short, so it's only going to be about an hour and a half.
Thank you.
No, about a minute and a half. I had the pleasure of helping to facilitate our community committee that puts the Territorial Charter Day celebration together. It was a fantastic group of volunteers, almost 20 people representing all aspects of Silver City. And what you have coming around is a flyer that advertises Territorial Charter Day, and on the reverse is the detailed agenda for that day. And as you can see, it's a pretty busy and packed full day, most of it taking place around downtown and at the Murray Hotel. I want to thank the town for the support they've given to this. But as you can see, this is a very historic event in not just Silver City's history or Grant County's history, but in the history of the state. And this is what makes history. This is a piece of history that is still pretty relevant, as you guys certainly know, how we're still dealing with charter issues. The event itself starts with the Urban Challenge Run in the morning at 9 o'clock. Love Local, bringing attention to all of our businesses downtown, happens from 10 to 5. There'll be horse and wagon rides throughout the day. There'll be community groups, tables, various community groups representing their efforts at the Murray Hotel in the lobby. The museum will be there. There'll be the mayor's sign-up table for volunteer efforts. Illustrated talks about our mining history, singing our state anthem, O Fair New Mexico. And I understand there's a few actors in the crowd tonight who will be reenacting the reading of the Territorial Charter from 1878. I think the guy in front of me plays a key role in that. Girl Scouts will be involved, walking tours, square dance demos, line dance demos, and live music by Danny Cordova. And then the big event starts, as the mayor said, at 7 o'clock, the Territorial Charter Ball. There'll be it's a very affordable ticket price, $10 will get you in. There's, as the mayor said, the Illusion Band will play. Very great music, and, you know, it's just a nice effort, I think, to kind of honor Omar Holguin and the role he's played in the band over the years. So it'll be a lot of fun. It'll also be, I think, I'm pretty sure, a pretty emotional moment for the band. So lots of good music, dancing. What am I missing? People are asking, you know, you can dress up if you want, put on Victorian clothing or uniforms, whatever you want to wear, as long as you look good and have some fun. What am I missing? I think that's it. Any questions I can answer?
Thank you. I'd like
Thank
to
you.
Thank you and all the members of the committee. They've been meeting since August or September of last year. And a big group that's been planning this event. Thank you all very much. Next item is new business. Under new business 11A is the approval/disapproval of notice of intent ordinance number 1277, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Animals, Article 1, Section 6-1, Definitions, Section 6-34A, Authority of Town Manager and Animal Control Officer, Chapter 6-55B, Administrative Enforcement Citations, and Chapter 32, Nuisances, a new Section 32-14, Animals, of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City. And this ordinance is sponsored by Councilor Bedeston, so I'll turn the time over to her.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to turn the time over to our Animal Control Officer, Vicki Tony, who is actually the one that has, this is a request from staff to enable the Animal Control Officer to actually be able to cite, and she'll explain a little bit about how she kind of found out that she couldn't cite. It had to be, if I remember correctly, you had to call in a code enforcement or another officer.
Or another officer.
That our animal control officer does not have the ability to cite nuisances relating to animals. And so it's a simple move of what's already existing into the proper area. But if you'll explain it a little bit more, I'd appreciate it.
It's really just the public nuisance part of, I couldn't cite under public nuisance because the animal definitions were not in Section 32, public nuisances. The definitions were in Section 6, but I didn't have public nuisance to cite under. So we were taking the definitions from Chapter 6 and putting them into the regular ordinance of Section 32.
So this is just a simple move so that she can actually cite. So there's no changes to the nuisances in this. It's just really moving it to a place where she can do her job and cite for nuisances that are currently in the wrong chapter. And this was sort of found out when she did cite, and she found out that she was not permitted to cite because of where these things were located originally. So it's really enabling her to do her job and then making sure everything's sort of, unless Robert Mr. Scarron, do you have any other further comment? Because that's really what it is. It's just moving it to the right location.
That's correct. It's more of housekeeping, accommodating the interpretation given by the municipal court judge. So to make it clearer, and we just move things around. It's more or less housekeeping.
Okay.
Any questions, comments?
Actually, I have a question. Under 32-14, that list of things that animals can't do, is there any way to add defecation in other people's yards? Because I know that's been an issue, and I know that's something you've had to deal with because I see people try to attack you on Facebook. So, if that's something that could be added, possibly?
That'd be a question for Robert. I'm sure it could be.
And I would say definitely that is something that we can discuss with Mr. Scavron and with Animal Control Officer, because it's not always just defecation in a yard. It's defecation in that little strip between the between the sidewalk and, the street. And so when you step out to your mailbox, sometimes you don't see something that's there. So, and I know that there's other communities that do things as they go as far as DNA testing. I've had a number of people say, why can't we DNA test? And I'm thinking, I just don't know how expensive that would be and whether we can afford it, but I think that that would be something that if you see you see their pet, defecating that but they don't pick up and take it, because there's many dog walkers, for instance, in my area that actually do take little doggy bags with them, little things to discard, and they're very careful about doing that. But not everybody, does that. And so that's something that I think definitely can be added as a nuisance, and I'm sure that you would be okay with that? Okay. So, thank you for that suggestion.
Any other questions, or Councilor Ray? Councilor Ray?
Thank you. Can you give us a report, if possible, of how many people are actually complaining or that they have their animals bothering other people or bicycles or motorists?
I have the full reports out of the CAD and stuff of how many complaints I've had. I don't have that exact number. But there can be a number of them on any given day.
We can bring a report to you at the next council meeting. It just needs time to put it together.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Ms. Smith?
Yes, this is a notice of intent, which means it's up for public comment. Is that correct? Yes. So any comments about, gosh, I've had this experience, perhaps that ought to be included. This would be a good time to bring it to you. That was what Councilor Cano's astute observation, that everyone needs to be put there. Because as a citizen, I have some comments, so I'll make sure that I will get those to you or to other town staff. Thank you.
Councilor Madison?
And I would encourage folks to send me an email, call the council number that's available, leave me a message. And just as a reminder, if you're going to leave me a message about this on the phone number, which it just went right out of my head, my council phone number. But actually, it's on the back side of the agenda, isn't it? Yes, it is. So the message phone for me is, it's a 575 number, 597-7031. Please leave your phone number so that I can respond back to you by calling. Just because if you leave a message and you want me to call you back, I kind of need the number to do that. So that or an email address, but I would prefer a telephone number. And it's a message machine. I will get the message and I will respond to you when I can. So just realize that there's no one answering the machine except for our beautiful town clerk's voice saying to you, "This is Councilor Bedison's message machine. Please leave your name, phone number, and a brief message." So please let me know if there's something that I'm missing. As you mentioned, Councilor Cano had a very astute observation, and I'm sure that, as Manager Brown said, that they can have a report, Councilor Wright, on some of these things, because I do hear of some of these other issues occurring in town, but having a report would be helpful for us to.
Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Chief Portillo, or a comment. Do you have enough people to follow up on this NOI?
I don't understand the question, follow up as in...
Okay, do you have enough resources to follow up on this NOI in case something happens, that you're allowing the police officers to cite people?
I don't think, I'm sorry, I don't believe I'm understanding your question. Are the resources, the manpower?
The manpower.
Oh, okay.
Yes, manpower.
Yes, I think that definitely this is something we can do. I know also that the animal control has run into several issues where she doesn't have the capability, so it becomes unenforceable for her. So, we have to jump in there and take over it for her. But, the officers do, yes. But, this would make it a lot easier if she had the capability to go ahead and do it.
Okay, and you're comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that people can hear this.
Oh, absolutely, I'm comfortable with it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Council Dennison?
I just want to thank our ACO. She's incredibly well-trained. She's been doing a great job for us. And, you know, I'm sure that she would love to have someone else also, and so that we'd have two ACOs, because we do have a lot of animals in town, but that's a matter for the budget and all that sort of thing. But I think the fact that you do have backup when necessary by the Silver City Police Department officers, I mean, I know that you're part of that department, but that you also have backup from them in a situation where it's just untenable for you to do it alone. I think that if this NOI moves forward, and then any adjustments that we make, it will make your job easier so that you don't have to call them for every time you want to cite somebody, and it's not something where it's difficult for you to do it by yourself. I mean, you know, sometimes if you have dog attacks and things that do happen occasionally, it's always good to have a couple more officers there just to help. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Do I hear a motion? Council Benson?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of notice of intent ordinance number 1277, an ordinance amending Chapter 6 Animals, Article 1, Section 6-1, Definitions, Section 6-34A, Authority of Town Manager and Animal Control Officer, Chapter 6-55B, Administrative Enforcement, Citations, and Chapter 32, Nuisances, a new Section 32-14, Animals of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilwoman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second that motion as stated.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item is 11B, the approval/disapproval of a memorandum of understanding between the Town of Silver City and Rosedale Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, this is a continuation of the water agreement between the Town of Silver City and the Rosedale Water Association. As you know, we sell water to 4 different water associations, large water associations, and numerous smaller associations, which we don't actually have contracts with. So we do sell water to Tyrone, PA, Rosedale, and Reeves Valley. In 2008, I was given direction to try to make all the contracts similar, formatted the same. We went from, some of them were joint powers agreements, some of them were memorandum of understanding, and the council wanted me to get them all under one format. A joint powers agreement is basically an agreement between 2 governmental entities, which the town is, and the water associations are quasi-governmental agencies. So basically what the joint powers agreement says is we're sharing powers so we could operate this facility. And most of the time that starts between a water association and a municipality. It's caused because the town is usually taking over equipment or infrastructure that the association has built or has had to borrow money for, and so the town is operating it jointly with them. In 2008, when we updated this, originally, we went from a joint powers agreement and to a memorandum of understanding. We went from sharing powers to operate the system to a memorandum of understanding, which is solely a contract to sell water to the association. And so within this agreement, it lists under what conditions the town is selling water to the association, what requirements we have, what expectations they have. The water rates that are listed in the current agreement are the water rates that they're paying right now. It does list having a section in there that says that any rate increases that go to Silver City residents are equal to Rosedale Water Association, and that's what I'm putting in the other water association agreements as well. So in the next 6 months, hopefully, we should be coming to you with Pinos Altos as well as Arenas Valley. I won't be coming back with Tyrone because their agreement is actually a perpetual agreement, and so there's no ability for us to change it and get it formatted like these other agreements. So with that, I have ready for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Brown? Comments? Councilor Smith?
So, can you remind me how long we've been working with the Rosedale Water Association?
As far as I know, it's back to 1992.
Yeah, okay, I thought it was more than 20 years. And there's a kind of a cap on how much water the town will sell them. It's 35-acre feet or something like that.
Yes, and we range between 24 and 28 is what we sell, what they use right now.
That was my question. So there's no real, has there been any real spikes for expansion?
No, but there is opportunity for expansion if necessary, but that is only through approval from the town council. So, and I've been making it clear that any large consumers like a business or a grocery store, whatever, would have to be approved by the town before we allow them to sell water to them.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? I just had a couple of questions. On page 2, it says that we agree to supply a minimum of 60 psi of pressure. How does this compare to the range in Silver City itself, the town limits?
In town, we have extremes up to 200 and some psi in some areas where we have to put pressure relief valves to decrease the pressure, and some places we have to increase the pressure. In the case of, and I think some places like 40, 60 psi, so we do increase the pressure there. But with the Water Association, actually we took this number out during the last MOU because we've maintained between, I believe it was around 120 psi at the Water Association. So we've never been anywhere close to the level of 80, but they just wanted an assurance that we would keep it no lower than 80, and which is fine because we're at about 120.
Okay. The other question I had was the town and the city council have taken measures over the years to reduce waste of water by leakage and those kinds of things, and that's why one of the reasons for the radio meters in Silver City. Do we have any way of determining leaks out in these different areas we supply water to?
No, we don't. But I can say that Tyrone, which we actually read their meters, so we do have radio read our own meters installed in Tyrone because we read those through contract. And Arenas Valley has radio read meters that they purchased on their own, and I believe Rosedale does. I'm not positive about Rosedale, but as far as the town doing any of that, we don't. We have our meters that are the large meters where we connect to their system. Mm-hmm. And we're actually talking about doing a second loop at a different part of Arenas Valley Water Association where we would install another meter. But we're negotiating that. That's not part of this agreement.
So when you look at the history of the water usage in Silver City, it peaks over around 2006, and then it begins to decrease. Does that include Silver City as well as all these outside areas?
Yes. Yes, the numbers that I have, that you've seen, is all the pumping, actual pumping, what we pump out of the wells. So there is a difference between what's pumped and what's actually built. And there's water loss from leaks, people stealing water, us having consumers that we don't have meters on. I mean, there's a whole slew of different ways that we can lose water. We've started a leak detection program on our own system. So the way it's built is we've got our own crews doing leak detection on water lines, meters, fire hydrants, all those types of things. And we're trying to get a complete survey of the entire Silver City water system every 5 years. So they're doing it 1 week a month. And we're taking these reports, which we have to report to the state engineer's office for our ESCO, for the radio read water meters. And so we do all that reporting to them, showing all the leaks that we found, and through the water conservation plan. Most of the water associations have done similar types of things, and like we've done with the first thing that helped us with the conservation was adjusting the rates. And so once we did that, consumption started decreasing right away. The second largest loss of water is the large meters around town, which this is one of them. And every 3 years, we're making sure that every one of those are read and tested to see for how much water loss we lose in them, and then they're fixed and so that they can capture all the water that's going through the meters. So those are the two main ones, and then the rest of it's public education. And so, I think the fact that the town of Silver City is doing all the public education, and they know they get their water from us, it's helping in them thinking about the way that they consume their own water and the water associations.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, I think the town and city council should be commended for all of the initiatives they've done over the years to conserve this precious commodity. So thank everybody. Since this is a 10-year agreement, I would like to do a roll call on this. So do I hear a motion? Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of a memorandum of understanding between the town of Silver City and Rosedale Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilor Connor?
Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion as stated.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Ann?
Councilor Kano? Aye. Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Amos Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Edison?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Well, this concludes the business of the town of Silver City. Do I hear a motion? Councilor Amos Smith?
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Councilor Ray?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This meeting is adjourned.